So, good evening, people. I have this little blurb here. I know you can't really read it. The title is 75,000. Well, actually, they had close to 100,000 march against Trump on Saturday, the day after his inauguration. We have this lovely little picture. This is a local news that I trust, Capital Times. So, the highlight so far, I have 3 little sections to read. One day after Donald J. Trump was inaugurated as the 45th president of the U.S., thousands marched in Wisconsin Capitol in protest, encouragement, and in unity as a new controversial administration began. So, the paper is saying it's 75,000 to 100,000 people, about 10 times larger than police anticipated during the Women's March. Marches took place in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Berlin, Paris, London, Sydney, and Washington, D.C. I'll have to look up the numbers for some of the other ones and get back to you on that one. The Washington, D.C. rally attracted over 500,000 people, which I believe they said estimated to be 76%. Yeah, about 76%, that's in the data. Madison's anti-Trump rally on Saturday, they deemed it second in per capita turnout, one of the biggest in the nation. And it says police are estimating that up to 100,000 people participated, which amounts to 41% is what they're saying. And Washington, D.C. had the higher turnout. Anyway, and this was according to Associated Press. It said there was over 500,000 people in Washington, D.C. It was the largest march in the state since 2011, where hundreds of thousands protested Act 10, the controversial law signed by Governor Scott Walker that curtailed collective bargaining rights for most public employees. The crowd was joyful, collegial, and as people were talking, cheering, and chanting. One person had a sign that her child was holding that said, "I'm not up for grabs." A person named Dylan Kissinger from Milwaukee had one sign that said, "Men of quality do not fear equality." Another attender of another marcher, I guess I should say, said, "I think everyone needs support and we need to stand up for each other and be there for one another in any way we can." Since Trump's election, with all the leadership that's been going on, especially with Republicans, I guess, this article says that a lot of girls are fearing for their rights, health, and safety. Democratic Representative Mark Pocan, who represents Madison in the U.S. Congress, boycotted Trump's inauguration along with dozens of other Democratic lawmakers. Pocan said, "I don't believe Donald Trump respects the office of the presidency, and I simply couldn't attend the inauguration." Pocan encouraged the crowd to organize and protest and said a Democratic victory will come from the power of the people through grassroots activism. And last but not least in this article, police dispatched about 80 officers to handle traffic in crowds and said there were no counter-protests reported. So on the data end of it, the only other things were Josh Clemens, a digital strategist who runs Reverbal, found the comparison as far as like the turnout in Austin, Texas, estimated about 50,000 in attendance, and their city has a population of 850,000. He said, not to say anything negative about Austin, there's just something crazy that our march was like 40% of our city. And then it also mentioned that there were a number of smaller marches. In Montpelier, Vermont, an estimated 15,000 people marched, which was 190% of the municipality's population. And according to this little thing, you can't really see it. I have bad resolution here. It says Madison knows how to march. There's different things that went on. I can't read the actual what they were marching for. It had like percentage. Okay, it looks like in the West Coast they had like 16%. East Coast had 16%. It had a 5%. Some people were marching in the upper West Coast. It looks like, I can't tell if that's Alaska or down down further south. Yeah, these are like different states. And then the last little bit here, I want to wrap this up in a certain minute. This is in the editor's column. The editor is Paul Fanlund. Trying to see if he has an email listed. If there is, I can post it if anybody wants to. Let's see. If anybody wants to email this person to get further information, I'll leave his email as well. His focus was about the different themes in a progressive rebuild. And he said, across Wisconsin and the nation, we need a flood of politically involved activists. The brightest, most charismatic, and dynamic would then rise as leaders and run for key offices. Second, these younger progressives must focus on how their positions are being communicated and how their story is told. They might start on a single issue such as reproductive rights, environmental quality, or whatever. What else does he say? He goes on, he mentions to mimic the Republican marketing model. Republicans protect wealthy donors from public backlash by reinforcing the often false impression that these people earned everything in an up-by-the-bootstraps narrative. Telling all Wisconsinites what's in it for them is paramount. Try these narratives. A modest increase in the gas tax will give you better, safer roads. That's one example. Smart public investments and job training for you and especially your children make more sense than another round of trickle-down tax cuts for business owners, whose primary reinvestment often appears to be in politicians who exacerbate economic inequality. Or strong Department of Natural Resources, not one that's stripped of scientists or enforcement authority. So those are just some quick little things. He says instead of wallowing, he offers ideas for the long-term progressive rebuild in Wisconsin and nationwide. I thought there was something here. Oh. So, and to back that up, Pocan urges people to stand and fight rather than wallowing in despair. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, and then you can't really tell the color. They're kind of like this off-white cream. Sorry, Trump, they're made in China. Made in China. And then I have this other one. Can't really see the little tag. Got these for 99 cents. Made in China. Sorry, people. But if you were to take out all the products and all the retail that were made in China, businesses are going to go under. So there you have it. I better get off and the net here and get supper going and whatnot. Sorry about the quality of the screen.